Buffalo, New York, it's the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast.
Welcome to the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast, where we talk about the utter insanity that is the Buffalo music scene. Cassidy, if Olive Garden has unlimited breadsticks, why don't they end world hunger?
I think there just aren't enough believers. If it were like the loaves and the fishes and they could have a miracle of it, there just aren't enough believers in this world, Ryan.
So what you're telling me is we need more people worshiping and believing in Olive Garden?
I think they're trying hard. They're trying hard.
Religion has done worse to lure me in than free breadsticks.
Unlimited carbs are bad for everyone.
I want some breadsticks now.
Oh my God, they're good.
On episode number 73 of the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast, we'll have part 2 of our interview with drummer, producer, arranger, consultant, etc., Elliot Jacobson. In part 1 of his interview, which you can find on westernnewyorkmusic.com, and we haven't mentioned this before, we're on like Spotify and Apple Music. We're on like a whole bunch of these sites now.
That's big time.
Yeah, so
ready?
Can I get like, yeah, there we go. So I wanted to mention this. Big props to Kenny, the intern. Kenny has been, he took on the job of doing distribution for us.
Your intern army is just moving mountains.
They're fantastic, too. Like, they're really, like, I've been dealing with so many just wonderful, talented people. It's wonderful. So, but Kenny has, I think, like... This is episode 73. I think he has everything going back to like 58 up on Spotify already. And the plan is to get all of them up at some point. And then with getting them, we're using Anchor as the website we use. So then in addition to Spotify, it's up on Apple Music and all those other fun places.
And you're getting these interns young who haven't been dampened by the struggle of the music scene. They're all eager.
They're not jaded yet. Do
you remember how excited you were about your internships? Were you excited?
I was until I got there.
Oh my God, my music industry internships.
Yours sounded really cool. Mine was just sorting stuff and filing. It was supposed to be a lot of other things.
I got to sort through all of everybody who sent in anything to Righteous Babe Records and catalog it.
Yeah,
I felt, but it wasn't great because I felt like I was the only person listening to it, you know. Anyway,
reading
all right.
Fan mail, yeah. Yeah, mine was a lot of filing. So anyway, in part 1 of his interview, available at westernnewyorkmusic.com and across streaming platforms, we talked about his beginnings as a musician, his ascendance up the ladder in New York City, and he gave us some stories about working with artists like Elle King and Ingrid Michaelson.
So in part 2 of the interview, we'll finish up our basic interview with Elliot and then hear about what Ryan was like in high school, which I'm sure everyone is super excited to hear about. We'll also be playing music from the Kalahari Merman Experience. I love their aesthetic.
Is it Merman or Merman?
Oh man, that's a good question. I could be saying it wrong. I want to say Merman, right?
You're right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I think Merman would imply that
have
they're
your
Jewish.
people call their people.
Yeah,
like Ethel Merman, right?
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
A song from A New Easy Way, which was Elliot and Ryan's high school band, and a heavy track from The Last Rain.
Yes. That I got a fancy tape deck. You can see it right there.
I love fancy things.
I can now archive cassettes for westernnewyorkmusic.com, and the first thing I did, I found a show that Elliot and I played together from Showplace Theater in probably 2000.
Man.
And I'll talk about it a little more because we're gonna play it after the segment. But he busts out. There's kind of 2 drum solo bits in it because that's what you do when someone like that's in your band. So it's, even listening back on it now, the track still impresses me.
Awesome.
But first,
we need a drum roll.
let's talk about Band Together Buffalo first.
Yeah.
It's, I think, the first 3 weeks, is it?
Are they in
Yes, the first 3 weeks they're in round 2.
Round 2.
But week 3 of round 2, because they have 60 bands, they're playing 12 of them a week, so this is going to go for 5 weeks.
It's so sportsing.
It really is, actually. So the first 3 batches of bands are done. I've been asked to be a judge, which is super awesome and something I appreciate. Thank you, Band Together Buffalo. If given the choice between having people judge me or having me judge people, I will always choose the latter.
Absolutely.
But I've been there's some really cool stuff on there. Episode 1 had Mom Said No, it had Pharaoh, it had Strange Standard, it had Tiger Chung Lee. The Mom Said No video was really, really cool. And
really polished. Those boys are looking polished.
Absolutely.
I've worked with them and I've seen them. They are just really put together. They put on a great show.
Yeah, I actually, the drummer for when I played with Jen DeSantis used to be in Mom Said No, and I think his cousin or his brother was still in the band, so we actually got to practice in the Mom Said No practice space a few times.
Yeah.
And they had like the full like in-ear monitor set up for everyone at practice, and that just, for me, that just blew my mind.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, they've got their stuff going.
And the dedication to those suits.
It works. I've heard
I heard 3 of the 4. Forgive me for cutting you off.
Sure.
I heard 3 of the 4 of those groups, you know, in the past, but Strange Standard I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, Strange Standard. I think I was expecting something a little more funky, and it was almost a little more soul. It was a real quiet track. It was all right. It wasn't my favorite. I mean, it didn't fit in well with the rest.
That was the other thing I was going to ask. In these episodes, are we, you know, putting these bands together? Forgive me for the pun, because they are genre related, or are they kind of a?
They're trying to, but there ends up being. I mean, you kind of have to stretch in some case to fit bands in certain places. Like this is soul, pop, and funk.
Sure.
Where soul and funk might go together, pop could kind of be another thing, you know. So
and it might be in that sense too. Like, do you even want to do that? Because you can get a crossover audience and, you know, pollinate these fans of different bands who maybe wouldn't have been exposed.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. And then so the Strange Standard video was pretty cool. Tiger Chung Lee submitted something from a couple years ago with like half the band. So
I don't know if that's fair.
It wasn't the best, but it was still
COVIDity. We'll blame the COVIDity. They've got a lot of new things going on.
And yeah, I have heard, and they're so talented. So I really can't wait. I hope that I can say is outside of my judging capability is that I hope because they're a cool band and I want to see what they do in the next round they advance. But for me, they were kind of in the middle just because it was an old video.
That's hard too, because you can be rooting for the band and because of what they submitted, particularly for this competition.
Tokyo Monsters had a really great video. I won't hit on every band. For episode 2, Tokyo Monsters had a really cool video, like I said. It's for Battle of the Waterfalls Part 2. It's a video they've had out for a couple of years, but I've always really liked it. And Tokyo Monsters is a band that I still haven't seen yet, and I really want to. On episode 2, you can also find the Safety Meeting. They are a new band. Their singer is also the singer for Unleash the Lion, which is the popular Pearl Jam cover band. This is his foray into original music. It also includes TJ Cuttajar from Days Ago on drums, and I believe Kevin Sampson's playing bass. I'm not 100% sure about that. But then episode 3 had Hearts and Hand Grenades, Space Junk, Cypher, and BEU. That was kind of the...
Pew, pew, pew.
Is it?
How you say it, yeah.
BEU?
Absolutely.
All right.
That's how it was explained to me. Like the noise of gun make pew, pew, pew.
Isn't that a pew and not a bew?
No, they said pew, pew, pew.
Oh, fair enough. That was the prog rock...
I'm not a pew, man.
That was the prog rock jam episode, which... Not quite my thing, but...
So we can go back and watch the episodes.
Yes, if you go to bandtogetherbuffalo.com, you can find the episodes. You can vote for bands up to 3 or 4 days after each episode airs. They're going to be airing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays until everything's done.
That's important. I know a lot of people have some screen burnout, and it's hard to miss everything being...
So, and they start at 7 p.m., and they have featured artists, and I think that's really nice and a good way to bring people in. But, if you look at it and you're like, this is an hour long, I don't have time for that.
Sure.
You can catch all the local bands in just like 15 or 20 minutes per episode if you skip around. Just saying, if that's your thing. Episode 4 had Folk Faces, Organ Fairchild, TK Lips, Nixon, Croft, and Goretti. That was the jazz/folk episode.
So there is some rhyme and reason to it.
Yeah. TK Lips actually really impressed me. Just this like this 3-person kind of was almost more like a droney, jazzy, kind of shoegazy looping sound. Sorry, my dog's jumping all over you. So that was really cool. Oregon Fairchild is kind of a jam with a real strong jazz influence. Like
Sure.
Medeski, Martin, and Wood is the name. If anyone, are they still a thing?
Her festival's still a thing.
As long as hippies exist,
Yeah.
Medeski,
sure.
Martin, and Wood
Someone's
will be
gonna
here.
follow that band.
And I don't like always say bad things. I really didn't like the video Folk Faces put up. It was this really fast song, and I was just listening to myself, and someone walked by and they asked me if I was listening to the song in double speed because of the way everything was happening. So
And it wasn't accidentally double speed?
No, and it was just kind of a lyric video too.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I don't know how much time these bands had, to submit.
Sure. So I think they could have put a better face forward, if you will.
Folk Faces.
Because, but no, it was still pretty cool. In episode 5, 77 Stone played. That band features Michael Delano, Vito Wojcik, which is Bruce Wojcik's son, and I feel like it's another guy I've heard of too. And they kind of have. I was expecting kind of like a bluesy jazz thing because that's what I'm used to with Mike. It almost had like a Alice in Chains kind of vibe to it.
I dig
like
that.
This like low mucky bit. It was better. I definitely I'm not a big jazz blues guy, but this really appealed to me. I think more than I thought it would, and I really really like that. Episode 6 was pretty good. It had Yellow Jack featuring former creator of this podcast, Dennis Reed. They do music that sounds like old folk tunes from the 20s, but they're about modern things almost. So like a lot of it's
Clever.
So there's songs about Highway 62,
Okay.
the Buffalo one.
Yeah.
And like it's not a live video, it's a music video, but you see every person in that band sings lines individually. So all 4 people are going around. There's a fiddle player, a bass player, a mandolin player, and Dennis on guitar.
Cool. And
I thought that was really impressive. The video was really nice and clean. I know Dennis does great video work, and like it made a Scott Norwood reference, which if this
Whenever you can kick on that hometown.
It's called Band Together Buffalo,
Yeah.
so I might give you an extra little. I gave a couple bands an extra little point for having like a good Buffalo reference in either their video or their songwriting. I think that's at least a little important given what they do. But I've heard Yellow Jack before playing like that older stuff, and I'm not a big 1920s folk guy, but I was really impressed by the song they played, so I'd recommend checking that out. And I wish I remembered the song. I'm opening this up so I can find for you the name of the Brendan and the Strangest Ways song, because that video was excellent as well. Well, I guess you're just going to have to go to the Band Together Buffalo website and check out episode 6 to see that video, and you will also see recent guest 10,000 Maniacs perform on that one too, since every episode does have a featured artist.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate the efforts of everyone who's coordinated.
Oh my goodness, it seems like a ton of work. So I'm happy I can help promote and judge, and it's like this happens, and it's like I want to do everything. I want to help more and more and more. So I'll just give you the end of the last week too. We had Nuclear Winter, Grizzly Run, Erie Shores, and Cheap Peach. Grizzly Run's a little harder than I like, and Nuclear Winter has this whole Megadeth vibe.
Okay. Well, it is the metal punk.
If they want to sound like Megadeth, that's great, but it almost sounds too much like it and a little kind of old and I don't want to say antiquated exactly, but
unless you didn't catch that wave of it, Ryan, and you're not as old, and you maybe want to.
I like. I had a Megadeth phase.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to that, and I can appreciate that, but like I couldn't hear a lot of the bass in the recording too, which bothered me.
That's hard when the mix is off.
Erie Shores is really cool. They're actually a band I want to have on as a guest sometime soon. They're a real good hard rock band, kind of emo-y, and they had a really nice music video shot. Every time I hear Cheap Peach, I like them a little more. They are a shoegazy punk band from Fredonia. I had them play once at Milky's. They're going to be playing on the Planned Parenthood fundraiser we're doing. They're a really good time.
Do you have a date for that?
We're recording it on April 17th. I don't know when it's going to be ready for release.
Right.
So sometime in May.
And how many bands are participating?
There will be 10 bands, hopefully.
Nice.
So right now we have 5 confirmations. So I'm still rounding up the rest of them.
Doing that thing you do.
Yeah. Episode 8, had Grub, Soul Bushers, Sons of Luther, Amateur Hockey Club. I'll just talk about Sons of Luther. I really like them.
Yeah.
They have us like really good, like old kind of throwbacky rock and roll sound with like the white undershirt and the leather jacket kind of vibe. Okay. The song that they submitted in particular, it has some twists and turns. Like there's some weird beats, or like there's a little like woodblock cowbelly thing they throw in. So like, I thought it really kept me on my toes. So, and I like that as a listener, where I don't absolutely expect what's going to come next. And then episode 9 was Alternative Night. That was what I actually watched it this morning. I've never been a big fan of McCarthyism. The video was really good.
Yeah,
I really, really liked it. They were like one of these bands where I just like hear a song here or there and just be like, eh. But then I heard this and I'm like, I like this way more than I thought I would.
I had a couple favorite McCarthyism songs. I think there's like a Window with a View song or something that stuck with me. Anyway, I appreciate when Kevin McCarthy's like playing in the corner of a room somewhere. And
Yeah.
I feel like I saw him at Petty Bones at a Bison's game or some nonsense. You know, like he is a staple, and I'm not offended by it ever.
Yeah. So I think they may have converted me into a fan. So, and they have a really cool social distance music video, which is basically, I'm assuming, Kevin McCarthy standing on a roof playing his guitar.
Nice.
And the song's all about wasting time. Chris Squire Band had a song. Oh my God, what was the name of that song? I'm gonna pound my head on the table and not remember it. I guess you're just gonna have to watch episode 9.
Go back to it.
Yeah, it was really good. It was
So how many more weeks? What's the format again?
4 bands per episode. Total of 60 bands. There'll be 15 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to go up on March 1st. So as of March 1st, like tomorrow, March 2nd through 4th will be week 4, and then March 9th through 11th will be the final week.
So it's kind of too early to say, and I know that you're a judge, so I don't know if you can even say in your official function, but do you have favorites so far?
I can tell you, so 16 out of these 60 bands are going to make it.
Right.
Forward. So, if I was looking through this and just guessing off of what I saw, I think Mom Said No and Pharaoh, I think, are both going to do really well. I was really impressed. The Pharaoh one's a live performance video, which really impressed me. I think people are really going to like the Tokyo Monsters video. I think Space Junk has a huge following, and even if I wasn't a big fan of what they did, I think they're still going to get a lot of fan votes, and I think a lot of the judges are still going to be really into it. Honestly, any of the jazz folk bands, Folk Faces, Organ Fairchild, TK Lips, Nixon, Crofton, Goretti, they're all really talented.
You know,
they're all like again, like jazz, not always for me, but like watching these, almost all of them as far as performance was concerned, they got a perfect score, because they're, especially Nixon, Crofton, Goretti, they're great musicians. I've seen Goretti play for a few things for Infringement Festival. Please ignore the sound of dogs and feet in the background. I think 77 Stone will advance. I think Michael Delano is a favorite amongst kind of the young and upcoming musician, music is art kind of crowd, and I think that'll help him. Though I think he could get there on his own merits. I don't want to say that's why, but I think he's got a nice following with those kind of people, and I think he'll ride that. I hope Yellow Jack makes it. I'll be kind of curious to see where it goes on that.
It is an interesting mix, and as it narrows down in this format, it's hard to judge one against the other. It's going to come down to these bands rallying their fan base to vote for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, even, it just really came down to so I vote on 3 different things. There's songwriting, composition, there's performance, and there's video quality. Sure. So it's composition / songwriting, and it's a 0 to 3 scale for all of them. Performance, and then video quality is the other one. So, if I'm looking at performance quality, if it's something that's done in a studio, I might not only give them a 2 out of 3 possible points, because when you go in the studio, you can fix it. Mm-hmm. Compared to a live video where you got to get your shit right.
Right.
So just little things like that, or with the music video, I give bands a point if they are actually in their own music video. I know all the professional bands don't always do that, but you should be in your music video. It feels lazy if you're not in your music video.
Well, I think in this kind of a presentation, it should be more your performance as part or piece to the video, instead of it's a whole nother creative undertaking to have this story video or like a arts video.
Even just having like the band standing in a room and playing is better than just using stock footage.
Especially more captivating because we don't have those rooms to stand in with those bands in this COVIDity.
Sure. And then for like the songwriting, I'll give someone a 3 if it's a song I'd put in my car stereo.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to look at it.
Or if it's in your head a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely. If it has a hook that stays in your head, that's a point. I'll deduct a point if when like a chorus for a song at the end goes on too long and they keep repeating the same lines
That'll happen
20 times.
Yeah.
I deduct a point for that. You've overstayed your welcome.
That's the truth.
So yeah, I have like little things to do that way, and I think as long as I kind of like hold each band to that same standard, that even though they're different genres, we can still be fair about it. That's what I was getting to.
You're a very fair judge, Ryan.
I mean,
the honorable Ryan Gurnett.
I put a lot of extra effort into it just because,
No, honestly,
no matter what,
you're qualified to judge.
I just think no matter what you do, especially in this music scene, people are going to assume you're biased somehow. Like even when I did Infringement Festival and put bands in Broadway Market, I had people like, "Oh, well, how'd you choose the bands? Were they all your friends?" And it's like, no, these were the bands that were scheduled.
You wish you had so many friends.
Yeah, right. And it's like, no, this was where those bands were scheduled to play, which made them the best choice to do a recording there.
Right.
So people are always looking for an excuse, so I try not to give them one if I
But they're
don't
also
have to.
not the ones doing it. Like everyone's going to have a critical analysis of the people who are actually doing.
Oh, absolutely.
So, let them talk.
Exactly. So we are going to play, so the rest of the Elliot interview is broken into 2 parts. There is kind of the rest of the main interview that we were conducting, which is about 8 minutes long, and we're going to take a break and play a song, and then Elliot's going to talk about high school and Ryan Gurnett. So,
which I'm sure is what you're most looking forward to, our listeners.
Elliot was a little younger than us, so like I don't remember him like drinking or smoking. So like we had an 8-piece band, so there was some debauchery going on, and he was never really a part of that. Plus, he joined late, so he doesn't have like the freshman year Ryan Gurnett stories, because those are the ones that are truly hilarious and wonderful.
I'll spare you.
So this song is from, I believe, 2000. It is recorded at Showplace Theater.
Fun place.
My band and our band, A New Easy Way. I believe it was our last full show as a band. We thought, since it was our last full show as a band, that we needed to talk to our friends ahead of time about calling us out for an encore, which happened, and for some reason we thought we needed to play 2 hours at Showplace Theater, which at that time was pay to play, so that just meant we had to buy twice as many tickets from them.
Right. That's a good setup for them.
Yeah.
Nice party. Was it a good party?
No, I don't think it was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, if I remember correctly, we played the last 2 hours, and the first bands brought in a few hundred people who all immediately left when they finished.
That'll
so we
happen.
played for like 20 to 30 of our friends, and someone I remember, we called her Angel Dust Lady for obvious reasons.
Okay.
So this was a song we recorded for an album, and it got lost. We have a lost album that's floating around somewhere.
On a cassette.
I believe it's on an ADAT, actually,
Nice.
if we want to really date ourselves. It's called Lord Funk. It was kind of our big opus, and it's funk, not fuck, just because I was listening to it, and I'm like, if you don't know the name of this song, it might sound like everyone's yelling Lord Fuck, and we weren't those kinds of kids. Other kinds of debauchery. I'm saying too much, Cassidy. All right, so we are going to play A New Easy Way from Showplace Theater, circa 2000, with Lord Funk here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast on WesternNewYorkMusic.com.
Coming up is known as Lord Funk. One's called Lord Funk. The way it should be.
So, I've seen you on so many TV shows. Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve, like Fallon, I think Leno. I saw you on Rachel Ray.
Oh, yeah.
That's officially when I think you get to the point of where you've played like all the shows.
Many of them, yeah.
Yeah. So, out of all the stuff you did, like, what's what's kind of the most surprising things that, you know, you maybe didn't realize when you went into like do all these like late night TV shows that were there when you got there?
So I'll just randomly spout out what comes to mind. James Corden, super nice guy, would like go backstage and hang out with the bands before, which like most of the talk show hosts would just be like, you wouldn't even know that they're there until they announce you and you go out.
Yeah.
The Ed Sullivan Theater, when we did Letterman, which was like a dream for me, that's like second to only SNL, which I haven't played yet, but like, you know, but Letterman, it's like most of these TV spaces, it's just so small, and you're out there and you feel like when you're watching it on TV, it's like this big stage. It's tiny, and everybody, you know, the audience is right there, and there's 100 cameras, and you're like, this just feels so weird as compared to what you see, you know, when you're watching at home. But the Ed Sullivan Theater is an actual theater, so it was just cool to play to a room. It felt more like a show for like, you know, 2.5 seconds of playing or whatever. Man, I don't know. Some of the places have really nice backstage areas where there's like massage chairs and they want you to like really be chill. I've played Conan so many different times where like we did the original Conan show in New York, which also was like, you know, I watched that, I'm sure, like,
oh yeah, me too. Right.
Yeah. That was incredible. And then we did his show when he moved out to LA, and it was like, things have like downsized for him and changed so many times, but his shows were always fun because the backstage was pretty, you know, easygoing. I don't know. What do you want to know? Because
I just I just know, like, every time I feel like I get access to something I haven't seen before, I go there and I'm like, oh, that's happening. That's really interesting. Yeah. So I always just try and pinpoint those things. So I'm assuming Letterman. What my next question was going to be, what was your favorite place to play? And I'm assuming you're going to say Letterman in that case.
That was probably not one of my favorite performances, but it was definitely like the most memorable. Also, Serena Williams was backstage, and I got to hug Serena Williams, which is
damn!
You got to hug Serena Williams.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing ever.
I think that gives you superpowers.
I think so.
You have superpowers now, man.
That's how it works.
So,
yeah.
I actually have a small little question. Which out of all of those shows, which one was the most hospitable, or like the one that gave the most hospitality for you guys?
Kimmel was also like, they had a backstage area that was like a lot of food and like open bar, and it's just like
open bar.
It was, yeah.
So not gonna charge them.
I think Corden had an open bar too. But it was like maintaining the like loose vibe without too many hangers on. Like it wasn't like because it would have sucked if it was just like open bar and it's like it feels like you're at a bar and you're like about to like go on and perform, and like, you know, that's not what you want. But Kimmel had a really good backstage vibe. I think just the ones in LA, because there's more space. In New York, these TV studios are tiny, and the backstage, like for Letterman, the backstage is like a stairwell, and it breaks off into these little rooms, and everything's really small and separate. Where Kimmel is like this big area, and then James Corden, same thing. Like, and there's like a patio that you can go out and hang. I mean, it's. Damn. Ellen also had like a really nice, there's like a ping pong area. There's just like, you know, totally like you feel comfortable when you're back there. So when you're doing these shows in between your own shows and you're really tired and you're really like jet lagged, you know, and maybe you're sick, and then you walk into this like open area with couches and just food, and that's just like, that means so much. Like that's just basics, you know, just like comfortable, you know. So I appreciate those a lot, especially in the moment, you know, when we're in the grind of things.
Nice.
So doing all these, what celebrity, like, who was the celebrity you got most starstruck with through doing all this stuff?
Oh man, well, it was always. With the late night shows, it was always like the drummer of the late night show. Like,
nice.
That's all I could think about when I was playing. Was like, especially when it was like Max Weinberg. I'm like,
did you get to meet Max Weinberg?
I shook his hand. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was insane. Obviously, like whenever we would do Fallon, like we did, I think late night, and then we did the Tonight Show. I don't know. I've done it different, like with Ingrid or Elle or both. I don't. But like Questlove, I've met him several times, just like in, at festivals or whatever. And, he's just the man. So I think even though he's not probably the biggest or most notorious, it's just for me, just that's what
I'd want to meet Questlove.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, right?
A long time ago, you put up a post and you said that one of the members of the Roots was a member at your gym. Was it Questlove?
It was Captain Kirk.
The whole time I'm like, I bet it's Questlove. I hope it's Questlove. But
Kirk, he lives he still lives in, I don't know where he lives now, but at the time he lived like not too far from where I lived in Brooklyn. And then he would go to the same Crunch gym and I'd see him in there. I'd be like, oh my God, I think that's him. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So, now as far as production goes, if there was a musician in Buffalo who was looking for some producing, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you if they might be interested in your services?
I mean, just, I check everything because people just hit me up, and communicate in their own ways. But I prefer email because it's just easy to control and like, organize. But, email, DMs on Instagram, probably those ways are preferred. And I'm so interested to know like where the Buffalo music scene is now. I mean, I left, and I mean, you guys are the experts, obviously. So
more him than me. So,
dude, I started doing like a deep dive and making a list of bands, and I got up to like 200, and I'm like, there's 200 bands in Buffalo. This is amazing. My list is up to 575 right now.
Yeah,
and it's growing constantly.
It's been updated to the point where I've had to do some maintenance in the background.
Wow.
So it's there's a lot of really amazing things happening. So your website is elliot-jacobson.com. So if anyone's interested, you can find all his info there and look at the resume and all that stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and then Lou is going to ask Elliot questions about playing with me in high school, which
hell yeah.
I'm excited.
So we are going to play the Kalahari Merman Experience. The song's called Monkey's Uncle. These guys are members of Tortoise Forest. Tom Varco and Max Davis, who we had on.
They're good at naming things. How whimsical.
I really do like that name.
The whole bit was whimsy.
Yeah.
I'm about it.
Honestly, any band name that has experience in it, I'm usually kind of a fan of that.
For sure.
All right. Well, here's Monkey's Uncle on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast on WesternNewYorkMusic.com. Woo!
And we are back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music podcast on westernnewyorkmusic.com. We are still joined by drummer, producer, writer, arranger, potential drumstick juggler, Elliot Jacobson. And so I was going to ask for embarrassing high school memories. That was kind of because I'm sure you have something on me. But Lou has specific questions, and I can't wait to hear what he has for you. I have not seen these questions. Lou has been giddy about it since we discussed it this morning. Right. I'm even going to put on my glasses.
Okay, so obviously you and Ryan went to high school together. You know, you guys, jammed together in your guys' band or whatever. While you guys were jamming out, Ryan is notorious for making some of the weirdest names or in naming songs and naming bands and stuff like that. What was the weirdest song name that he ever gave to you, if you can even remember?
Well, the band we were in had a lot of weird names.
I wasn't doing song titles for them, but we did have a lot of weird names.
Ginkgo biloba, Frank the Mailman. I mean, I think every single song.
Frank the Mailman.
Throw the monkey a burrito.
Throw the monkey a burrito is what I was going to say. That was definitely eye-catching. Frank the Mailman was actually a real person. He was
right.
He was Don's mailman.
Was there any other?
I mean, we had Chode Overdrive.
Chode Overdrive. Yeah.
That's kind of before we realized what we were saying.
Right.
Or some of us did and some of us didn't.
Right. I think some of us do. I don't know. They're all in that up that alley, I guess. So.
Yeah, we were a goofy band.
Yeah,
for sure.
We wouldn't say fuck or shit on the albums, but we would say chode 15 times. Not bad an eyelash. Which in hindsight is so bizarre.
Yeah. I like how this has grown to Ryan naming bands like Tacos for Friendship and stuff like that.
That's a good name.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great name.
I came up with that name while I was hanging out with Lou, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I'm like, I don't have an electric guitar right now, and I just bought a guitar right away. And I haven't haven't jumped fully into it yet, but I have some ideas that involve 3 bass parts at once.
I can't wait. I'm ready.
All right.
Yes.
So, from what I've been told and from, hanging out with Ryan and stuff like that, I would say that his onstage presence is very sporadic. It's very lively. Mm-hmm. Are there any embarrassing moments during performances or during rehearsals where Ryan may or may not, fallen on his ass or something like that? Or just even something interesting?
I mean, my image of Ryan playing bass on stage or in the jazz ensemble pit or anywhere was Ryan he had a purple, a deep purple bass.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember baggy pants that the bottoms of them would be torn up on the floor. Is this right?
Oh yeah.
Is this that? Okay.
I still have pants like that. I still like them that way.
And then hopping. There was hopping.
There was a lot of hopping.
Vertical, just
vertical up and down.
Hopping.
Yeah. That's evolved a little bit into less jump. I think when your knees go out, the pogo goes with it.
Yeah, you're usually now swinging your bass and floating around.
It didn't really. It started with me just trying to move around a little bit and keep the beat, and then once I got into the end of college, it just became like violent dancing kind of. It was really kind of a weird way it went. I do remember having someone actually tied my shoelaces together once while I was playing bass.
I feel like I remember that too.
I think that was before. That was the night. That was actually the night we kind of first hung out with Brendan Orange.
Okay.
I did while playing bass.
And then my bass strap broke that night, and we used one of his shoelaces to hold it together. I had that for maybe you were there. That was the show outside in Eden when it was 10 degrees.
I was definitely there for that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was gonna say I remember your bass falling. I remember your strap breaking. I should have said that, but that was that was in there. That must have been a very memorable collapse.
That whole show was great because it was outdoors in 20 degrees, which they didn't tell us about. Right. And then when we got out there, it was 2 stages, but they were controlled by 1 power strip. in the middle of the room. So at least at one point in the performance, the power just goes out, and then like someone has to just like flip it back on again. And there is a tape that actually exists of that show that I should find, like, I should dig up if I can.
Yeah.
I'm actually part of what I'm doing with WesternNewYorkMusic.com is I'm making an archive of all that music around our time.
That's so
just
cool.
because if you don't have the CDs, it's gone.
Right.
So there's some New Easy Way stuff in there, and we got Tease to a Beatdown. I'm trying to get Zeal and Silo 6.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a fun trip down memory lane. Oh my God!
I remember setting those up. It was really fun. So now my other question is, with your time doing shows, with Ryan in high school, were there any moments, like any bad, like show experiences that you ever had, just hiccups or mishaps that may have happened while you guys were doing shows here and there?
What was there a broken, like Friends Cafe? Was there a table that broke and we got in trouble, or?
I don't remember a table breaking.
Like glass shattering. I think my other band, Click, I think this might have been, I might be mixing up shows and bands, but like, the guitar player in my band, Click, brought in a bunch of his friends from Lackawanna. And
wrong side of the tracks.
And they, I think they like smashed a coffee table at Friends Cafe, and I was like mortified because I was thinking like, oh man, my other band's gonna be pissed. I could be making this. That might have been a separate show where I played.
That sounds like something that would happen at the Friends Cafe. This was an all ages music venue in Hamburg, and I think we played possibly the last show there, and it's all I gotta dig up these tapes because we have that too. They found kids were hiding beer under the couch.
Oh, I remember that.
So we actually had the announcement where the woman is like, "We found Red Dog under the couch. We are going to close from here on out." And then right at the end, you hear one of my friends being like, "Dude, did you get that?"
Oh man, yeah.
Right.
I feel like the other thing that just came to mind is we played a show at Showplace Theater, and there was one show where I played with I think 3 bands. I think it was The Shapes, and then
I really liked The Shapes.
You didn't, or you did?
I did.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I like The Shapes too. It was like Deftones psychedelic kind of.
Yeah,
groovy.
Yeah, and I played with you guys. I played with the New Easy Way and The Shapes, and maybe one other band. And my hand was cramped. I just remember my left hand started to cramp during this show.
Oh.
And that's not a good situation. But I think the show was awesome from what I remember. I don't know. That was like when you had to sell. It's like buy tickets from Showplace Theater and then sell them. So Showplace made money no matter what, I guess. And it was like free to play kind of deal.
We actually a lot of the times we would buy the tickets, like 50 tickets for $50, but then we'd sell them for like $2 or $3.
Oh, cool. Okay.
We actually made most of the recordings and stuff we did were paid for that way. And when you compare it with how some bands are getting paid in bars now around here, it's actually like, I kind of think I made more on those old shows.
Yeah.
And I'm always amazed. Some of those Showplay shows were $7 to get into. Still shows in Buffalo, $5 to get into.
Wow.
Yeah. It really is. I did a show where it was like $3 prepay, $5 at the door.
Whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, trust me. When I hopped on to that booking train, I brought it up to like 5 and 8.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, now my other question is: has there ever been a situation where anybody in your band has sustained an injury and either continued playing with the show? Obviously, you broke your foot. So we already crossed that bridge, but has there been any other significant injuries that may have been sustained during shows or during rehearsals, kind of just like horsing around type shit?
I've sustained injuries. I was playing at South by Southwest one of these years, and it was a year where Ingrid was playing and Elle, and I think I was doing some gigs with like other artists too. I was like fully in the drummer, mode. And we played a show with, it was with Ingrid at the like big Austin sort of theater, and it was for the Perez Hilton showcase. So there's all kinds of bands playing. Like Blondie showed up unexpected and like cleared the stage and then set up their entire rig and crew and then played like 3 songs and then cleared it out. that kind of shit was going on. So we're like, okay, so Blondie's playing, and then we play, and there was it's so any of these like festival settings, especially like the kind of showcase festivals like South by Southwest, it's a free for all. The crew is trying to just maintain like bands of different crew. It's insane. So we run on stage. It's pitch black. I ran right into it was a huge sort of like back screen thing. I hit right on the corner and it cut my head open. I'm on stage. We start playing with Ingrid. Blood is gushing down my face, and the bass player looks at me. He's like trying to like motion, like what's wrong? And so I took a towel and it's just all bloody. So I'm playing this, it's like those sets are super short. So it's probably like 5 songs. And then I ran off stage after the set, and I'm supposed to literally book it to an L showcase with my gear, like, and I'm just like bloody. I show up to L, and she's like, it's funny coming from like an Ingrid Michaelson gig to an L King gig, showing up like bloody and sweaty. And L's just like chill, like playing pool with the band, and like, what happened to you? I'm like, I hit, yeah. So that was. I don't know if there's been other like actual injuries.
Yeah,
I've had amps
That's
fall
crazy though.
and things like that. But yeah,
damn,
that one stands out to me because it's there's so much blood.
Yeah. And now my last question is, if you were to if you were to look back at your time playing in high school and like kind of visualize Ryan as a high schooler. Do you think that his, aesthetic of being a musician has transferred into his current podcasting persona, or is it just like, or is there such a sparse difference because of like age maturity in life and whatnot?
That is a good question.
Ryan's
such a deep question.
Yeah. Man. I think it seems like a natural progression. It seems like, Ryan is a very wise, mature individual right now. And, but I think like, I do remember like back in the day, like, Ryan like was into all this music that I wasn't into, which I wish I'm like, you were into Zappa.
Oh yeah.
And yeah. And like, I think there was a lot of punk bands and stuff. And like, that's kind of how that was like my first introduction to a lot of that stuff. It's weird in high school because like you were just a couple years or even like a year older than me.
I think I was 2 years ahead of you.
Yeah. So, but that's such a big difference in high school, right? Like,
oh my God,
it's crazy. And so like I was learning so much from like that band and like the guys in the band, like the music they were showing me was stuff that like I didn't know. I didn't know who Warren Zevon was. Like, I still don't know who Warren Zevon is, but like
they introduced me to Warren Zevon as well. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but there was that band in particular, and Ryan, like there was just so much music being like listened to and absorbed, and I think like that's obviously carried on. And now you're like the torchbearer for the Buffalo music scene over here, so makes sense to me.
Now I have a follow-up because you were just saying, they introduced you to a plethora of music, and I know I said that was going to be my last question, but it's just like tapped in there. I'm like firing these out. Do you think that the introduction to, the punk, the alternative rock, the grunge, aesthetic, really kind of built up, a different sense of music composition and just music playing in general? Because like from my perspective, I grew up like singing and playing jazz. Fucking love it. It's like super free form, super cool. You get that swing going, you get those, triads in there and whatnot. And then I started getting really into like progressive metal, and those two are like complete polar fucking opposites. So like there are certain things that I carry from both during composition, sessions or during writing sessions that I personally carry over. Do you think that the introduction to those bands that were just so sparsely, different from the classical music, from the Suzuki method, do you think that really carried over into your composition?
I think like the live energy of all those bands, because it was guitarists playing and drummers playing, you know, especially in the more aggressive stuff that I got into, you know, and then the classic rock stuff I got into like later, you know, like I think it informed productions, because even if I was using a computer, I was like coming from a live sound of like, I want these productions to feel alive, and I want to make the sounds work in a way that, you know, they don't just sound kind of stale to me. So probably that way. And then actually like looking back on a lot of those songs, a lot of them are super hooky and simple and catchy. And they're, I mean, like, you know, Nirvana is such a great pop band, you know, with the way the melodies are and the repetition and the structures. I mean, you can't, you take those elements and maybe you change the lyrics and you change the aesthetic of the productions and the sounds, and it's just a straight up, you know, pop record. So I think that probably carried over, and just like some of the like darker themes in the music, I think like I gravitated towards that stuff a lot. So, and I don't know if that's something about being in Buffalo. I was trying to think about this earlier today. Like there's so many, like there were like punk bands and rock bands and like hardcore bands coming out of like the Buffalo, Western New York area. And I just wonder if that has anything to do with a general feeling of like,
I mean, it might. Scott Vogel, man. Cannibal Corpse.
I'm not going to say it doesn't, to be honest.
Yeah. Not unlike, you know, when people evaluate Seattle, you know, it's like a similar thing. It's like the weather, the economy, the you know, but I don't know. It's hard to place. But I think like I definitely took all that stuff with me, you know, into stuff I make, and you know, this is good music.
Mm-hmm. No, and I guess to leave it off on a nice little heartfelt note, I tend to we both tend to ask this question a lot, especially when, you know, interviewing a lot of musicians and bands and stuff like that. What advice do you give to, you know, the kids in the local scene getting their band starting up, or, you know, just working on their craft and whatnot? What advice do you give to them to just, you know, be successful in their production or be successful in their ideas? I know that we've touched upon, you know, getting your priorities straight, making sure that you have something to show for yourself and stuff like that. So outside of that, you know, and mastering your craft, mm-hmm. what advice would you, you know, give to, you know, some garage band that's, you know, starting out and getting ready to rip through it?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, definitely emphasizing like it can get so complicated when you look at like the emphasis on marketing your music and getting your music out there and reaching new people and building an audience, and, you know, getting on TikTok, making sure that you are creating viral content, and like all that stuff has a place and is super important. But I think what gets lost, even with people who are like in the middle of their careers doing this, is like they start looking outward instead of looking inward, and they stop focusing on the song, and they stop focusing on, can I play this live? You know, can I, you know, really am I getting the best productions to represent my vision right now? You know, they get kind of lost in how they're being perceived, you know, all the metrics that are the outward facing metrics, you know, their follower count and play count, which is, again, super important. But first and foremost, like really bringing something special to the table that's really well made and well curated and focused. And then understanding, you know, that this is a long process, and frankly, it takes money to invest in not just the front end, but the back end, the marketing. And if you want people to hear what you're making, if your goals are to really build something, there needs to be, a combination of favors and friends and support, but also actual money. It's going to take money. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to compete. You know, you need your life savings, or you need to, you know, sell your whatever. But that's just part of it. And I think the last thing I'll say is just that it's what you consider success now. You know, I heard a quote that was like, survival is the new success.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to that, meaning like you really gotta keep going. It's going to take longer than maybe it used to get to a certain goal point. So you just have to really have that mentality that like, I'm not going to just put out a song and like wait to see what it does. Like I'm going to put out a song and I'm going to push it as hard as I can. And I'm going to put out another song, and, you know, that's really how it works. But I think that's super important to keep in mind.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the freshest perspectives we've gotten on that in a while, because most people usually say like the same jargon consistently, if I'm going to be blunt. So definitely good to get a different perspective on it, and, you know, really, really awesome. You're a really awesome dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And so, Elliot, thank you so much for doing this. We have been trying to plan this for probably literally like the last like 40 episodes. So I'm so happy we finally got you in.
Me too.
And I will say this: one of the big carryovers for me from high school to doing this is that I have and always will have a very, very big mouth that gets me into trouble.
He's not wrong about that.
Yeah. Elliot's seen some stuff too. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Elliot.
And that was our interview with Elliot Jacobson. Next up, we have a track by The Last Rain. Their album Evolution released last September, and they just announced a double LP release on... Cassie, how much do you like colored vinyl?
I love it.
Right? It's a double LP on red and purple. One on red, one on purple. Of their album, it's available for pre-order at thelastrain.com. It's a pretty cool album if you're into some heavy shit.
Or if you're into colored vinyl.
Yeah.
I mean,
or local vinyl, absolutely.
Local vinyl.
So check it out. I think it's $50 pre-order for it, which is a good price for a double album like that, I think.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so here is a song from that album. It is called Annihilation of the Ancients by The Last Rain, and then we'll be right back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast on westernnewyorkmusic.com. we are back on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast. That was Annihilation of the Ancients by The Last Rain. If you go to thelastrain.com, you can pre-order their entire album that is from, called Evolution, on double-colored vinyl. Get on that, folks. And then it'll be releasing sometime around the end of summer. So, that's all we have for episode 73.
That's crazy, Tom.
73! I realize, like, I'm going to get to 100 at some point, and that blows my mind.
One would think.
Doing 100 of anything over and over again seems difficult for me.
You know, what is it? You're 10,000 hours, but like 100 podcasts is certainly many hours.
So, so first some bad news. No more Lewis. So,
I miss him already.
I'm just going to leave it at this. Some shit happened. He left town. He's going to be with his family. From what I heard, he's coming back to Buffalo to grab his stuff, and then he's either going to be living down in Florida with his family there, going over to New Mexico where he also has family. So I miss him a lot. I wish it didn't happen so abruptly, but so is life sometimes. But I just want to take some time to thank Lou for all. Lou really did a lot of hard work.
He jumped in enthusiastically to like comment on, you know, any and all.
Everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's the webmaster for WesternNewYorkMusic.com. Sure. He was booking shows for Good Bar. He was helping out with Infringement. Like, he was
and
really...
then his own music projects were a contribution.
I think I feel like he has reformed that band like 3 times in the last 2 years, and now he's going to have to reform it again.
The struggle.
So, the struggle is absolutely real. So, Lou, we wish you the best.
All the best.
Yes. Keep struggling. On episode number 74, we're going to have Fred Betchen.
Okay.
It's going to be Betchen. He is an audio engineer.
In this episode, Ryan.
Huh?
It's sort of a very punny episode.
I try. He's an audio engineer. I actually got to work with him a few weeks ago. John, our wonderful sound editor.
Also Newspeak
was in the recording studio, and I didn't have anything to do, and I'm like, John, do you want me to hang out? Because he was just going by himself, and I feel like sometimes you just need that extra body. And I ended up, there's this one song he wanted like war drums.
Okay.
So he wanted like one of those like orchestra kick drum, bass drums. So we find one, but it's set up like a regular like drum set bass drum, like it has legs and stuff.
Okay. So you had to hold it up? You were the drum holder?
I didn't, so they put it on a coffee table.
Okay.
And I take one look and I'm like, he's going to hit that once and it's just going to like fly off the table. So I had to hold it on the table. So there's shots of me either like straight on holding it, like pushing it towards John, or like on the side, kind of doing that marching band grip. But Fred was the engineer we worked with there. He's a super talented guy. I think GCR just kind of hired him on where before he was freelancing. Not 100% sure. I saw a post about that. We can talk to him about that. He also works with Select Sounds in Kenmore, that recording studio. So his time in Buffalo goes back to the 80s making music. We talked about his time. He spent some time working with Mark Freeland, and that, which, you know, goes back to the classics of Buffalo for our era, I think. So I think it'll be a really interesting interview. So you can check that out on March 15th-ish. We're also going to have new music from Evan Anstey, who just released a new EP. It contains different versions of songs he's already recorded with other artists.
That's fun.
So we'll have a track from that. I've got this really fun track from Steve Ballesteri, and I haven't picked the rest of the music yet. Oh.
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. So thanks for tuning in and joining us. The next episode's going to be awesome. Just be nice to everyone, folks. I don't know, maybe it's just me getting my vaccine, but I'm like, it's almost over.
There's a feeling like everyone wants to be almost over. My gosh, it's a year of this, but so I appreciate the caution, but also really, really miss the concerts.
So
right?
Keep on struggling, folks. It can't be that much longer, can it?
The Trough opened up, concerts are happening. You know, I see it as the light at the end of the tunnel.
So get outside a little bit and breathe in fresh air and not contaminated air, and everything's going to be okay soon, folks. We just got to hold together, and I don't know.
What does the music button do?